Hey everyone, welcome to the channel and another Energon Universe discussion video. Void Rivals, the title that kicked off Skybound's Energon Universe, finally returns with issue number 7 after a brief hiatus. We're going to take a look at the issue and highlight some of the things that stood out to me, but before we do, it's worth taking stock of how the Skybound continuity has expanded since the title went on break towards the end of November 2023. Since then, we've almost finished the first arc of Transformers, and the G.I. Joe side of things is starting to take shape with the 3 issues of Duke and 2 issues of Cobra Commander that have been released so far. The progress made in establishing a compelling shared universe in such a short amount of time is nothing to sneeze at, but it's hard not to feel like Skybound is just getting warmed up. We've gotten a glimpse at some potential future plans involving reprints of the Marvel runs of Transformers and G.I. Joe, as well as Hasbro apparently filing a trademark for Void Rivals. So with that last one, it's possible that they might be cooking up some action figures or other merchandise, but we'll have to see how that pans out. The first trade paperback for Void Rivals was also recently released, subtitled More Than Meets the Eye, and thanks to the ad in the back of the book for the other volumes, we know the first trade of Transformers will complete the other part of the tagline, or more appropriately in this case, lyrics from the cartoon, with the subtitle Robots in Disguise, whereas Volume 1 of Duke is subtitled Knowing is Half the Battle, and Volume 1 of Cobra Commander will be subtitled Determined to Rule the World, both from the original cartoon. I think it's interesting that they'd link the volumes of Void Rivals and Transformers together like this, as it makes me wonder if Void Rivals will ultimately wind up becoming more of a second Transformers title than it arguably already is. I mean, yeah, issues 1 through 6 had Transformers cameos or Transformers-related subplots, so you could say it already is a Transformers book, but that angle could certainly be taken further than it currently is. Whether or not that's the long-term plan, I can't say, though the contents of issue 7 might seem to poke holes in that idea, as the Transformers component is totally absent in this issue, a notable first for the series. This issue is fully centered on the Sacred Ring, providing some interesting world building right off the bat. Back in issue 2, Darak casually mentions that he used to be something called an Edgewalker, and we get a glimpse of those days in the opening pages of issue 7 with these nice-looking mech suits. This sequence, set 10 years in the past, ties into Darak and Solila's current-day predicament in a smart way by establishing that Darak was hurled into the forbidden zone of the Sacred Ring known as the Wasteland after a workplace accident thanks to the strength of the gravity in this particular region. In the present day, after fleeing from the Zertonian government, Darak and Solila find themselves in the Wasteland with limited hopes of survival, but Darak is apparently privy to a secret about the area which is not divulged beyond the fact that the pair need to reach the halfway point of the Wasteland. And this leads to some nice interactions between Darak and Solila, as well as Handroid, of course. The entertaining yet compelling dynamic between the characters that has been established since the beginning continues to be strong here, and as before, it's a dynamic that leaves space for conflict and tension. The mysterious artifact given to Solila by Mistress Vil in issue 5 is apparently something that Solila intends on keeping to herself, despite Darak directly asking what she's up to, a question that she's quick to brush aside. So that's a bit of character drama that I'm looking forward to seeing unfold. And again, we get some stuff with prophecy and destiny, with Mistress Vil telling us that Solila is nearing her ordained destination, and I'm very curious to see what that is. As has been consistently the case with this series, there's a lot of threads that have me impatiently wanting answers. The wait between each issue of this series is more painful for me than any of the other Energon Universe titles, and I think it's because Kirkman is really good at seeding multiple plot threads and mysteries. Revelations are parceled out in such a way that the larger mysteries remain intact. You get some small insights as time goes on, but there are always more questions to be answered. It's an approach to storytelling that's apparently great at keeping me invested, and I'm eager to see what kind of grand plan Kirkman is working towards. As we know from the end of the previous issue, Darak and Solila have problems beyond merely surviving the Wasteland. A Zertonian hunter named Proximus is dispatched to follow them into the No Man's Land, and the highlight of this issue hands down is when we meet Proximus for the first time. And despite his rather Transformers-sounding name, Proximus does not, at first glance, have anything to do with Cybertronians whatsoever. But that doesn't mean there isn't some interesting stuff going on here. At first, it seems like Proximus is just a man with nothing notable to distinguish him from other Zertonians, but we learn that this entire sequence with the conversation between Proximus and Zalalak is some sort of shared VR simulation, and the actual physical form of Proximus is in pretty rough shape. It's clear now why he needed to be revived, as was said in issue number 6, as he seems to be more machine than man and in a kind of stasis. Although I was expecting the character to be something more than your garden variety Zertonian, I certainly was not expecting him to be a cyborg torso suspended in a tank of liquid and kept in storage like some sort of last resort bioweapon. The reveal here is pretty slick, cutting hard between simulation and reality, with the identical layout and framing, but using color, red and green again, and differences in the character's appearance to great effect. It's a similar visual device used when Darak finds himself in the Wasteland 10 years ago, cutting to Darak and Solila in the Wasteland in the present day, but the images are mirrored, cleverly indicating the opposite sides of the sacred ring and what end of the wasteland the characters were at during these two instances. Both of these examples continue the tradition of visual symmetry that's been baked into this series from the very get-go in terms of presentation, but also in terms of broader lore relevance, with Zertonia and Agoria each making up half of the sacred ring. Shifting to another kind of symmetry, there's a bit with the revival of Proximus that features this nifty 16-panel grid across an entire page, and this is an awesome sequence, the sort you can easily picture happening in a movie or TV show, but made even more powerful, I think, as all the movement, actions, and sounds all happen inside the reader's imagination. The Zertonian cyborg is wordlessly resurrected and reconstituted with a kind of malleable mechanical substance that is shaped into limbs and armor that are then attached to his body, until finally he becomes the hulking armored figure we saw gracing the cover to this issue. They're really taking their time building up to the conflict between the protagonists and Proximus, and the way the creative team is treating him makes it seem like Darak and Solila will be no match for this killer cyborg, so it'll be interesting to see how they survive this scenario. Those are kind of the big things that stood out to me the most in this issue. It's good to have Void Rivals back in my monthly pull list again. I definitely missed the book, and I'm ready to see what's in store for this arc. Overall, this was an excellent issue with some great character moments and a well-rounded sampling of Dave Felici's artistic prowess, from the action sequences with the mechs to the quieter moments with Darak and Solila, and of course all the imaginative imagery associated with Proximus's introduction. And hey, they didn't even need anything from Transformers for this to be one of the strongest issues so far. Anyway, I'm very impressed with how issue 7 turned out. It's a great read, and I have to admit it was refreshing to see all the focus given to this new universe and these new characters. But seeing as how we got some pretty substantial clues in issue 6 that Zertonia is significantly intertwined with the Quintessons, I expect to see a return of the Transformers reference of the month soon enough. My hope for this series moving forward is that we'll see more issues like this one, but when we inevitably get back to the Transformers side of things, I'd like to see some established Transformers characters that stick around as part of the main cast of this book, rather than showing up just for a one-and-done cameo. I know Skuxoid and the Quintessons seem like they'll be hanging around a bit. Kirkman even suggests that he might have too much Skuxoid content planned in the letters column, but come on, I like to see some more major players than that, you know what I mean? Here's hoping that Springer, shown on the cover of issue number 9, will stick around, as I think he would be a great addition. Darak and Solila could always use a car and or a helicopter, right? Seems like it could be pretty useful, I don't know. But that's going to be it from me on this one. What did you think about this issue? Did it hold your interest despite the lack of Transformers nods? What did you think about the whole reveal with Proximus? If you like what I do here, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel, share, etc. As always, thank you for watching this. It's greatly appreciated. Hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.